Amerika, China, Russia, Japan, South Korea, lahat kaibigan natin. So lahat sila liligawan ng Pilipinas, kakaibiganin tayo. Wala nang chance na katulad nung unang panahon na nadidikta daw tayo ng isang bansa lang na pwede silang makipag-away sa atin. Whether Joe Biden really becomes president or whatever administration comes in the US, they will always court the Philippines and woo the president for our friendship. Hi, what is the impact of the new Joe Biden administration in the US to the Philippines and to Asia? Some people claim that there will be some problems for the Philippines under President Duterte due to the Democratic Party being more vocal and critical about human rights issues and possibly criticizing President Duterte and the government. But I disagree. I believe that we have an advantage unlike before. The Philippines now has a vibrant and strong independent foreign policy which has made the country equidistant, good friends with all the big powers of the world. US, China, Russia, even Japan, South Korea, and others. Thus, whether Joe Biden really becomes president or whatever administration comes in the US, they will always court the Philippines and woo the president for our friendship in Asia. Let us listen to two experts, Dr. Rommel Banlaoi and Mr. Ramon Casiple, top geopolitics experts we have invited here at Pandesal Forum of Kamuning Bakery Cafe to discuss this issue. Itong dalawang eksperto sa geopolitics, Dr. Rommel Banlaoi at si Mr. Ramon Casiple, ang sinasabi nila dahil sa tinatawag na independent foreign policy ng Pangulong Duterte at saka ng Pilipinas, ngayon ang bansa natin binabalanse ang pakikipagtungo or friendship or partnership, pagkakaibigan natin sa lahat ng great powers o malalaking bansa sa buong mundo. Amerika, China, Russia, Japan, South Korea, lahat kaibigan natin. So lahat sila liligawan ng Pilipinas, kakaibiganin tayo. Wala nang chance na katulad nung unang panahon na nadidikta daw tayo ng isang bansa lang na pwede silang makipag-away sa atin. So, yun ang pag-uusapan ni Dr. Banlaoi and Mr. Mon Casiple.
Trump or Biden, the Philippines need to pay attention to two major issues that the United States will carry. One is the issue of human rights situation in the Philippines and the quality of our democracy. So whether Trump or Biden, they will pay attention to that issue. And second, our friendly relationship with China. But I think if Biden wins, there will be more flexibility and more rhyme and reason compared with Trump, because we know the position of the liberals, more accommodating and willing to engage and talk with China. So there will be more rooms for settling of political differences under Biden. But under Donald Trump, it will be a difficult a period again for China, and will also be a difficult period for the Philippines because we need to balance our relationship with the United States and China. Our government is really trying to play the major power games. No, we want to deal with the two major powers, and one way of dealing with the two major powers is to find our strength also coming from the two major powers. So pag nakikita natin yung reading of the prevailing situation, pag nakikita natin na in the prevailing situation, our relationship with China is being put at risk because of China's activities in the South China Sea, we tend to use the American card. And one way of using the American card is to win the Americans on our side. So in order to do that, President Duterte suspended the termination of the BFA. But remember, hanging pa rin, BFA is still being terminated, but there's still just a suspension. So that's one way of also playing the American card. But at the same time, we're also playing the China card. Remember, the concept of comprehensive strategic cooperation with China is still being embraced by the two countries, China and the Philippines, and that's the direction. Yung Memorandum of Understanding on Oil and Gas Development is in fact being pursued by the two countries. That's a signal with the United States that although we want a alliance with you, you cannot stop us from dealing with China, especially on matters that we think will advance our national interest. And this is what the good thing about our current situation, Wilson. Gone are the days when we identify our national interests as deeply and closely associated with the United States. Nawala na yung era na yon. Ngayon, we now have a clearer sense of our national interest and a better way of pursuing our national interest. Kung makikita mo ngayon yung Philippine Defense Policy natin and various publications of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Department of Foreign Affairs when it comes to our security outlook in the Asia Pacific, we are becoming more and more independent in our way of dealing with the outside world. But at the same time, although we are pursuing a friendly relationship with China, it does not mean that we will totally abandon our relationship with the United States. Kaya nga sabi ko maganda nga yan, we play two cards and we play these cards when dealing with the two major powers. Remember, the Philippines is a small size, medium-sized country. And the source of our power will largely come from our ability on how to get the best worlds from the two major powers. So yun ang ginagawa natin. Ang tawag ko dyan is really hedging and middling strategy. And we need to maintain that kind of strategy in order to win the support of the two major powers on our side. But of course, may risk involved dyan. So if we cannot play this diplomatic maneuvering very beautifully, then may mga risk yan. Kasi nga, yung dalawang elepante na yan na nag-uumpugan yan, we have to make sure na hindi tayo matatapakan sa kanilang pag-uumpugan. So that's the challenge for the Philippines on how to really get the best of both worlds, okay, and advance our national interest by dealing with the two major powers. Yan ang ginagawa ng Singapore, yan ang ginagawa ng Thailand, yan ang ginagawa ng the rest of ASEAN member state. So it's not unique for the Philippines. For me, it's a good sign that we are diversifying the source of our relationship with the major powers. Unlike before, Wilson, yung ating foreign policy really dictated by the United States. Ngayon, tapos na yung era na yan. I'm so happy na I have witnessed this kind of period where the Philippines can really pursue its national interest without the dictate of any major powers. Of course, major powers can still pressure us. They can still throw their political weight around. They can still create political pressures. But at the end of the day, it's us who will make the final decision. For me, it's a good sign. No? In fact, with Germany also, we're dealing with Germany, with Israel. We are dealing with Israel now. Whoever wins the US elections, I think the major foreign policy challenge for the United States, whether under Trump or Joe Biden, will be the growing cooperation between China and Russia. Because China and Russia are now setting aside their differences in order to promote their global agenda to challenge American global leadership. And they want to create a more multipolar world order where the voices of major powers will be heard. Ang tawag namin dyan, yung emerging world order will be a concert of powers where other major powers would have a say in shaping the destinies of the world. So unlike after the end of the Cold War, where we witnessed the rise of American unipolar moment, but nag-fade na yan. We are now facing what we call the post-American world. We are now facing a new world order. And this new world order will no longer be shaped alone by the United States, but will be shaped in concert with other major powers.